I am fired up about the Trae Young trade. From a fantasy basketball perspective, that is. I'm going to break down all the implications of this trade for fantasy basketball. This trade opens up a great new pickup, only 8% owned, majorly rises the stocks of some players, slightly deflates the stocks of some players, and slightly rises the stocks of others. Just found out a couple of hours ago that Trae Young was traded to the Washington Wizards for Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum. Honestly, have been very disappointed with the sports analysts and experts' breakdowns of this trade. Then again, disagreeing with experts is a big part of what's allowed me to win an uncommon amount of my fantasy sports leagues. I'm talking about 36.4% of all my fantasy football leagues and 32% of all my fantasy basketball leagues over the last 20 plus years. First off, Corey Kispert remains irrelevant in fantasy basketball. He'll maybe have a couple weak stretches where there's injuries and he's in the starting lineup and he's borderline viable for points and threes. And CJ McCollum has been solid in fantasy basketball. We're talking about a top 100 option on the season. Amazing that making three-pointers per game, scoring 19 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists per game, is only a top 100 guy at this point. But he's likely to see a little bit less volume in Atlanta. I'm slightly downgrading him. Now where it gets exciting, the pickup that I like on the Washington Wizards is Marvin Bagley. He was actually drafted 3 picks above Trae Young in that same draft, 1 pick above Luka Doncic. But to me, he projects as the most likely John Collins type on the Wizards team who could be elevated by Trae's passing. He's been around the top 100 players for the last week, the last 2 weeks, the last month, has been trending upwards. Even though he's only getting 17 to 22 minutes per game, if he gets more minutes per game, I expect him to do well. I love the Wizards in fantasy basketball. I generally like to go for guys on teams like this that are rebuilding. So Keyshawn George and Alex Sarr were 2 of my big guys preseason, both of whom have been solid picks this year. I don't see Keyshawn George getting an upgrade. He was leading the team actually with 5 assists per game. That number is likely to go down with Trae Young. But I do think this is positive for Alex Sarr. This is already a guy who has an interesting game for fantasy with scoring, with blocks, hit some threes. There's a little bit of everything. He's actually been the number 14 player in 9 category the last month. I have him rated way higher than expert consensus if you go to my site fansports.com. And then we get to Trae Young. Oh boy, Trae Young. Trae has been having the worst season of his whole career at this point, which is unusual because he should be in his prime at age 27. But to me, this is a guy who still is one of the elite talents in the NBA, really a generational talent for what he can do at point guard. Has there been anyone else who's compared to Steph Curry coming into the draft? The main digs on him have been his high turnovers and his low shooting rates, especially in recent years and especially from 3. I still very much believe the shooting ability is there. I mean, he's a 90% free throw shooter. McCollum and Kispert might seem like afterthoughts, but the 2 of them combined average 28 points per game for the Wizards. I think that's a realistic projection for Trae. If we combine that with the fact that he had a career high in assists last year, career high in steals last year, I think this is a guy who could be a borderline top 10, top 15 player in fantasy. And I like to try to analyze player incentives, and Trae Young has every single incentive to play the best basketball of his career from the remainder of this season. It's the perfect nothing to lose type situation for the team. We're likely to see top 5 usage percentage. I love Trae Young at this point. Don't forget to check out fansports.com if you want to see my NBA rankings. I'm just finishing uploading those and updating that. I also have a schedule analyzer, which is one of the best tools for managing your roster midweek. My goal is to help you win your fantasy basketball league. So thank you for spending a few valuable minutes of your day with me here. Stay learning. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.